A $656 million judgment against Palestinian authorities has been reinstated by appeals judges. This comes after the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in favor of Americans killed or wounded in attacks in Israel. Victims and their families claim that Palestinian agents either were involved in the attacks or incited them. The judgment comes as tension escalates in the Middle East. The ruling prompts the question of whether a similar case could be raised in the aftermath of the current conflict in Iran. Our chief legal analyst, Khalif Rhodes, joins us here. And Khalif, can you kind of walk us through what's the real question here?
There's a lot of questions. I'll walk you through a little bit of the timeline. Early 2000s, right. 2000 through 2018, Americans were killed or wounded in terrorist attacks in Israel and the West Bank. In 1992, there was an anti-terrorism act that was enacted allowing U.S. victims of international terrorism to sue in U.S. courts. The issue was that had to be that there was backing by some type of government entity, and that entity was specifically targeting the United States, not some just, random act of violence towards an American that happened to be in that other country. This lawsuit goes, there's a jury award of $656 million. The U.S. Court of Appeals tosses that verdict saying, listen, you can't bring these cases. We shouldn't even have been able to hear this case against foreign groups unless the attacks were aimed at the United States. Supreme Court hears a case in 2018, says, well, actually, they can. Congress passed a law in 2019 clarifying that you can bring these types of claims specifically against the Palestinian Liberation Organization. Supreme Court upholds that ruling in 2019. And so then we're here right now with the Second Court of Appeals recertifying and reinstating the $656 million judgment.
So essentially upholding that the U.S. has jurisdiction to hold these cases here, right? Because the attacks were abroad, the
Yep.
harm was done abroad.
Yep.
But meanwhile, the case is in U.S. courts.
So two different avenues. Do you have jurisdiction? That's their subject matter jurisdiction, and that's the actual. But then do you have an ability to have you met the letter of the law? Specifically, the court has jurisdiction. If the court doesn't have jurisdiction, you can't hear the case there at all. The courts have been granted jurisdiction based on this Anti-Terrorism Act of 1992. Mm-hmm. The other question behind that is, okay, you got jurisdiction, but were these organizations targeting the United States, or were these random acts? And they're saying that the Supreme Court now is saying, and Congress has clarified, you don't even need to answer that question. Mm-hmm. It's have these people been attacked in another country? Was it another organization? Are they victims of terroristic acts? Okay, that checks the box. It doesn't mean that they need to have targeted the United States. That was clarified through case law and through congressional action.
Now, this goes back to events from the early 2000s. Mm-hmm. I mean, why are we hearing this now? Why are we bringing this up here in 2026?
The wheels of justice turned super slow, so that's the first thing that I can say. And you just had a number of things that had to happen for this to take place. You had to have something horrific happen where people were killed or injured. Then you had to have lawsuits that were filed. And then you had to have Congress make actions to clarify. And then you had to have lawsuits filed again to appeal. And then you had to have another congressional act and then more lawsuits. So even if you didn't have any of the congressional acts, just those appeals on themselves would have taken a number of years. You're talking about 5 to 6 years. But adding congressional oversight, having Congress make the changes to the law, or I should say clarifications to laws, that also added time, because then it required that the courts look at it again. And so this court even said, hey, we're only doing this because the Supreme Court just ruled on this, and we now have to amend our understanding on what we've done in the past. So, yeah, there were a number of things that led this case to taking so long. I mean, but you're not talking about pennies. $656 million is a lot of money, and the courts wanted to make sure that they got that right. And going back, no dollar amount can put the loss on losing a family member, what that looks like. And so I can only see that they're now hopefully getting some type of closure after all these years of litigation.
Sure. Khalif, thank you so much for your perspective. Appreciate that.
Queen City News Plus. Just search Queen City News on your smart TV's app store.